So, Miss Realtor Lady, tell us about where the market's at right now, and then as we get into the video later, we'll give you guys kind of what we think might happen, because there are some things changing right now, and that might have an impact. So, we're getting started right away. Tell us what's going on.
Yes, so I wish I had better news, but the market is still pretty crazy here in Florida. And in our area, Venice, Sarasota area, the market is very, very low. We don't even have a month's worth of inventory right now, which we have a lot of demand, people wanting to move to the area, but we don't have enough homes to sell or even show, unfortunately. The homes are selling very, very quickly.
Going over asking.
Over the asking price. Basically, a house hits the market and it's sold within a couple hours. We are not even having as many open houses because there is no need to have open houses, but I have noticed that some realtors, some listing agents will have open houses. Literally, they just want the showings to be, that same day, because most of the time, if the owner lives in the house and you schedule a showing or like 5 different showings throughout the day, that's kind of like a bother, for the seller, and especially if they have pets. Now they have to carry their pets and try to accommodate the showing. So what they'll do is they'll have an open house, and that way everyone can see the house at the same time.
And everyone can see everyone else seeing the house.
And this creates a lot of pressure and more urgency. Yes. You want to put in an offer as quickly as you can. And in those cases, I 100% assure you that that house will go over the asking price, a lot more over the asking price, just because when you have all these people together, it's well, who's gonna win it?
Yeah, and I want to address something on that real quick, because I've seen this in some comments, not on our videos, but other places throughout the interwebs, that people are oh, it's all these realtors being greedy because they want the houses to keep going up more, so they're going to make more money. And really, all that happening is making life miserable for the realtors too, because less places are out there available to sell. People, makes it harder for people to want to buy, and they have less of a chance of being able to buy it because everyone's trying to buy the same house. You got 10 people that want that house.
Yes.
And the little bit of extra commission that you would make from the price going over asking isn't going to make a big difference in the paycheck of the realtor. Just to get that out of the way, we would rather the market cool down.
Yes, we have a lot of people contacting us all the time, and it's unfortunately, or sometimes they'll be well, we'll be in the Venice area in 2 weeks, and it's the very last minute I'm trying to figure out okay, how many houses can we show them, because there is not much out there.
It really is.
Yeah, my buyers will have hearts on houses that they like, and by the time they come here they have already sold, unfortunately. But they do know, because I explained that to them, it's going to sell quickly. By the time you make it here, it's probably not going to be on the market. So yes, it's still moving very, very quickly. We do hope it slows down.
And one other thing that still holds true in the market, probably even more now than it did a couple months ago, which was already crazy, is cash is king. Take it away.
Fortunately or fortunately for those people with lots of money, the market, since it is moving very quickly here, houses are selling over the asking price and very, very quickly. If you have cash, you probably will get that house, unless another offer with more cash comes in.
Or
which
less
is the
contingencies
case.
Or whatever, yeah.
Which is the case right now. I've had offers where they were rejected because someone else came in with a cash offer. My offer was a cash offer, a short inspection period, and maybe the closing day was too long. So the other offer came in, cash offer, same price, same inspection period, but the closing was a lot quicker. So guess who got that home? So you do have to, keep an open mind and not only act quickly, but be prepared to close quickly. And if you're financing in this market, it is a little bit tougher, but with a conventional loan, it's difficult because cash is always going to win in most instances. But if you have, a good down payment, or if you're willing to have a short inspection period and close as quickly as you can, then you might actually win that offer, and also going over the asking price, unfortunately.
And what's a good, when you say good down payment, what's a good down payment in this market?
In this market, so some lenders could, depending on your credit, ask for as little as 3% down payment, as much as 20% down payment. But in this market, I would say if you have even like a 30-40% down payment, go with that, just because when the seller looks at your offer and they see that you're only putting 20% down, or maybe if they don't know, their realtor knows that, hey, they're only putting 20% down because that's what's required for the bank. So basically you don't have as much skin in the game. I mean, not that 20% down, it's not skin in the game.
That's a lot of money still, yeah.
But in this market specifically, it's not much. Like, you want to put it as much as you can. I've had buyers that only finance like half of the asking price. We went over the asking price, but now it's not a problem because they have half of the listing price as a down payment. So it looks very, very good. While if it's only 20%, it's still a lot of money, but most people know, okay, they're only doing what they have to do to get the house.
So let's talk a little about where the market's going. And as a transition to this, I do want to point something out, because we've had a couple people that we've talked to and worked with, and some people that even came out, and they've been watching some YouTube channels. And a lot of these YouTube channels have been talking about the crash that's going to happen. And they've been talking about it, saying it was starting to happen or happening like a year ago.
Yes.
And what's happened since then? Prices have just gone up. Eventually, they're going to be right if a crash means prices going down at all, ever, you know. But what do you justify as being a crash? So I just want to get that out of the way, because I think a lot of people, they see those videos and they're just waiting for things to cool off before they decide to make the move. And if that's your mentality, the way things are going right now, prices just keep going up and up and up. There are some things finally in place now, I think, that could change that. But before it was like, okay, there's going to be eviction moratorium ending, and then all the foreclosures are going to hit, and the whole market's going to. That didn't happen.
Yes.
But now there are some new things happening. I think that could cool it off. But if you want to move to this area, I just think trying to keep waiting out the market to go down significantly, I just don't know that it's going to happen because of the inventory issues.
Yes.
That hasn't changed.
It hasn't. I mean, if anything, we have less inventory right now. And that's another thing too. A lot of YouTube videos and even like market specialists, they'll talk about how, like pending sales dropped, or not as many houses sold last month.
That's because there's no houses
There's
out there.
nothing to sell, so how are we gonna make any sales, right? So I feel like that's more like to instill like some sort of a fear.
And I think a lot of them, they're just getting the clicks,
Yes,
because they
sells.
put some videos out, they get views. Like, I have another YouTube channel, and I kind of know how YouTube, I've been doing this since YouTube started, so I know how YouTube works, and they're trying to get clicks.
Yeah, so it's basically what it comes down to. And unfortunately, if you don't go deeper into like, okay, so what's really going on, then you just take that information, right, and run with it.
Yeah.
But I advise you, if you're seeing those types of videos, like, do your own research and try to figure it out for yourself. Because yeah, like I said, like, if we don't have any inventory, how are we going to have pending sales, or how are houses going to sell when there is nothing to sell?
And a lot of those videos too, one thing to just pay attention to is if they're just taking one like main, like very specific piece of data, and from that making this determination for the entire market, that's just a very short-sighted and not very holistic view. There's so many factors that go into it. There's the inventory, some of the things we're going to talk about more in a second, buyer demand. One thing let's get into right now, interest rates, which are going up. And I do think that is something that could cool the market off, because now you get priced out of a certain market, or the type of home you want to be able to have, you can't afford that monthly payment. Then yeah, that could cool off some of the demand.
For the people that are financing, yes.
Yes.
I just feel that interest rates going up, they did hit 5% this week. That's pretty high. I mean, it's still significantly lower. Like in history, they have been like 11%.
Yeah.
So they're still significantly lower.
My dad was saying when they bought their house, it was like 16 or something.
Yeah.
Like, that's crazy.
Yeah, to think about it. I feel like interest rates going up, they're just pricing out the people that have been priced out for the last 2 years. Because people with a lot of cash, which is what we're seeing here in our market, they don't care if the interest rates go up. Why should they care, unless they're planning on, once they buy the house, pay with cash and then take a mortgage on the house so that they can kind of like recuperate that money, then it could affect them. But even then, like, I just don't see it.
I don't think you're going to take away some demand from the people that would need to finance. It's going to take quite a while for the people that have the cash and that have been thinking about making the move and are waiting or whatever, for them, that demand to be satisfied.
Yes. And even then, like, a lot of people don't care
and
about
this
the
is more
interest rate.
Local, just so we're being like in Florida, especially Venice, because there's a lot more retirees and things.
The Venice area, general area. Even people who are financing 5%, interest rate, it does seem like a lot, but it doesn't make a lot of, a big difference in your monthly payment. I mean, it depends. Like, if your budget, at 4%, it was, say, $2,000, that was your budget, then you are going to be priced out. But I feel like some people just want to be able to have a home. It's what it comes down to, and they'll do what it takes. And if 5% interest rate is what it takes, then some people will do it. Some people will still purchase, but I think the demand will definitely go down for financing.
Another thing I think we should address is one thing that could help with satisfying the demand and getting more inventory out there is new construction. There's a lot of building going on in the Venice, Northport, Welland Park, Sarasota areas, but it's not even close to keeping up. We've talked to some builders and they talk about how they don't even promote their houses anymore because it's hard to get the supplies, the price of the supplies, and it's not even close to meeting the demand. And unless cost of supplies and availability goes really up, that's going to make it even more difficult. Again, that's kind of why a lot of people I feel like that are going to wait and wait and wait for the market to go down.
They're going to be waiting for a while unless something major like what we're experiencing right now in 2022 happens. And with that new construction, though, I do want to add there is a lot of new construction going on, but those homes have an owner already. It's not like builders are just building just for the sake of it and then hoping that they will sell that house. Some builders are doing that here and there in like scatter lots or spec homes, which are homes that get built and then they get sold. But for the most part, especially if you're in a planned community, what the builder will do is they have a list of people,
a
lot of people, like hundreds, that want to purchase a home. Some will only release like 5 lots, maybe 6, 8 lots per month. They'll call 100 people, and out of that 100 people, they'll be able to sell 6 or 8 homes. So then they start the construction. So it's not like they're just building and building and building. It's like they're building for a buyer. So that new construction home has an owner already.
Yeah. And again, when you take that into consideration with all the other things we talked about, that's just why I don't think, at least here, I'm not saying for the entire country, but here, things are not going to make a dramatic crash, I don't think. It's going to be a while if anything happens.
Yeah.
So the one thing that could change, or two things I guess that are both happening, is inflation, and then of course everything going on with Ukraine and the war with them in Russia and gas prices and all that. Obviously that's going to have an effect on, inflation has an effect on every single thing an average American pays for, and then the gas prices is going to affect everything because things have to get shipped. Everyone pretty much drives. So it's going to, affect, those two things are going to affect everyone's pocketbook.
Yes. So we do think that even though the market it's still crazy here, we do think that those things will play some sort of a factor into the house market cooling down. Will there be a crash? Probably not.
Yeah, I mean, supply is down here, demand is up here. I think with that, if people can afford less or just change their mind, I'm not going to move somewhere new, I'm not going to get that second home. That's another thing to consider, all the baby boomers buying second homes and millennials trying to come in the market. Maybe some of that demand goes down. And then because of that, the prices stabilize, maybe lower a little. Here, I don't see them lowering. I really don't. I mean, maybe a little bit.
Maybe going back to down to the prices we were seeing in like 2021, at the beginning of 2021. But even then, just don't see it happening. But if it did happen, I could see it just basically all the appreciation we just had over the last year just coming back down.
Yeah, which would be pretty significant.
Worst case scenario,
I mean, that's like 20% appreciation.
30% in our area, yes.
Yeah, so it would be significant. I think even that's a stretch.
Yeah.
Just because the demand is still going to be there and you're still going to have multiple people looking at the houses.
One thing I will say though, it's when, all these people coming into Florida, moving to Florida, if they decide that Florida is not for them and they're like, okay, like this is great, COVID, it's over, I can go back home, and they decide to go back home, maybe that could potentially, or will have actually a big impact on the market, because now we're going to have a lot of inventory and maybe not as many people wanting to move down. But will that happen?
and at some point, some of that demand will have been satisfied. The people that wanted to moved.
Mm-hmm.
At a certain point. I mean, obviously, there's always going to be new people that decide they want to move or finally decide to make the leap. But
and Florida, I feel like it's always going to be that destination where people want to move to. Like even before the pandemic, like people were already moving here. People already wanted to move down here.
And COVID really, I think, pushed more of these. You keep hearing about like no one wants to work. There's no one working at restaurants. But part of that is because people can't afford to work at the restaurants and live here, and people don't want to work those kinds of jobs. I think it's part of the issue too, because it's not worth the stress or whatever that they're going to get paid for. Doesn't make it worth it. I think that, but also it's pushed more remote work, people deciding, I can do something else as a job that's online based, so now I can move anywhere I want. I think that's also sort of a factor that's going to get even more so. I think a lot of people are realizing what kind of money they can make online. So I think all those things are also factors at play that are going to keep the demand high to some degree.
And also having more, a bigger population too. Like even if the restaurant was or had enough workers at one point, now you have all these people coming down. So it's like you need more workers. So even if at one point you were maybe overstaffed, now you're understaffed because the population keeps growing.
Yeah. So this is definitely a very big dynamic. There's a lot of things at play, obviously with COVID and now this war and like all these things that have changed over the last couple of years. There's a lot of things to consider. And that's why I feel like this video is very necessary just to give more of a holistic approach of everything that's involved, because again, a lot of the videos that we kind of see, and we watch a lot of them too, because you do want to see different perspectives and kind of, oh yeah, you know what, that's a little factor I didn't consider. But again, it's just like if you're just taking one and from that extrapolating, that's a good word, I said it very terribly, extrapolating all this, this, that means this and this and this, but well, what about this and this and this that are also affecting the market? I think it's really important to see everything.
Yes, that's why we always say do your own research. Even like when we, invite you to come to Venice and figure out if Venice is the area for you. Same thing goes for our videos, or not only our videos, but everyone else's videos on the internet. Like, don't just take their word for it. Actually do some research and draw your own conclusion. Because I feel like a lot of YouTubers, that's what they're doing. They see a stat and then they'll draw their own conclusion and they'll say it like this is what's happening.
Yeah, and no one else, and no one else is telling you. Well, we're telling you what no one else on YouTube is telling you, because we're not here for the clicks. We just want to try to give an accurate representation, and ultimately I don't think anyone 100% knows exactly what's going to happen, and I do think it's going to be very market dependent from one city to the next. And our city is probably going to remain fairly hot, I think, for a while.
Yes, I agree.
And if you are looking to move to the area with all that understood and knowing what's going on,
make sure to call, text, or email me. My information will be in the description box below. I am a realtor here in the Venice and Sarasota areas.
And if you want to know more about life in Venice, Florida, check out this playlist right here. Subscribe, hit the like button, notifications, all the buttons, just smash them. And then live breezy.